Welcome back, game developers. Today, we're diving into the enchanting world of Hollow Knight. We will recreate this mechanic from scratch in Godot, so let's get ready to heal. Before we dive in, make sure you have a basic understanding of Godot's interface and programming concepts, as we'll be building the mechanic from the ground up. Let's first take a look at the structure of the project. The first two nodes below the root node correspond to the background. In this project they only serve a visual purpose. The important node is the player node. I have used a node 2D to create the player, but in a real project, it can be the node that suits you best. The child node of the player called HUD has only one important element, a node of type color rect called soul quantity. The node called interface is purely visual. To create the vessel we will use the soul quantity node mentioned earlier. In the material property assign the following shader. This shader is a modification of the shader that you will have in the description. The node I have called Knight is again purely visual. The node camera 2D is the camera of our game, to which we will apply Trough the code a small screen shake effect. Before we look at the particles, let's take a quick look at the two label nodes. These simply show the lives and the soul percentage. Obviously these nodes would not be in a real project, but we will use them here for debugging purposes. We also have two audio stream player type nodes, which will play our sound effects. One will play while we have the heal button pressed and the other will play every time we recover a new life. Now let's look at the nodes in charge of emitting particles. First we have a node 2D with two child nodes of type GPU particles 2D. The first one has these properties. And the following particle process material. The texture used here is very simple and easy to create with any digital painting software. The only detail to take into account is that the background must be transparent. To create the next node, the fastest process is to duplicate the one we have just seen. However, keep in mind that if you do so, you will have to make the particle process material unique. To do this, simply click on Make Unique. In this case, I have only changed the scale property of the particle process material, as well as the texture of the GPU particles 2D node and the amount property. Finally, let's look at the last node associated with the particles. It will emit particles every time we recover a life. For it, I have used the same texture as for the previous node. These are its properties. And this is its particle process material. The most important property in this case is explosiveness. This is the property that makes the particles to be created practically at the same time. In this example, it must have a high value. Now that we have seen the initial setup of the project, let's look at the script that handles the player logic. First we have the variables we are going to need. Then we have the process function, which simply updates the text we use for debugging. The function toggle healing particles enables or disables the particles that are emitted during the healing process. The shake offset function simply returns a vector 2 that we will use to create the screen shake. This is not the most refined way to create a screen shake. You can create it as you see fit. Let me know if you want a video about it. Let us finally look at the most important part of the code, which occurs in the physics process function. To continue, be sure to create a new action in the input map and assign it the key of your choice. Here we check what happens while we keep the key in question pressed or while it is not pressed. The important part is that we slightly increase a value initially set to 0 each time the function is executed. When this value reaches 1 we set it back to 0 and add a life to the player. We also modify the soul percentage of the shader that we saw at the beginning. The rest of the function reproduces the sound effects and applies the screen shake. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section. Thanks for joining me today. If you found this tutorial helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more game development tips and tricks. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.